Welcome to episode 28 of ChoralEd. I'm your host, Micah Bland. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Today we begin a new series on the adolescent voice. And to kick things off, I am pleased to welcome to the show Dr. Terry Barham, who will be discussing the boy's changing voice. Dr. Barham is incredibly knowledgeable on this subject, and has actually written this book, Strategies for Teaching Junior High and Middle School Male Singers, and it's published by Santa Barbara Music. So if you are interested in this subject and want to learn more, this is a great resource for you. Dr. Barham has actually recorded a full-length episode for you, which is about an hour and 15 minutes in length. But what I have done is I have taken that longer episode and broken it down into 3 shorter segments. And so today we'll be seeing part 1 of that series. And so I mentioned this because you may notice some edited transitions, and that's because it's taken from the longer episode that is available to you on YouTube through the ChoralEd channel. Without any further ado, here is Dr. Terry Barham discussing the boy's changing voice.
Hello everyone, welcome all you teachers. I was one for 50 years, so I kind of know what you went through a little bit. Making girls as well as boys aware of what's happening with boys' changing voices is crucial in the minds of more than a third of the master teachers. Both sexes must come to realize that singing is a natural process. We study the changing voice and help each other through it. Girls' and boys' voices change. They share this process in varying degrees. Maturity attacks happen. I think that's an interesting phrase. We laugh with each other and encourage each other. I always consider the individual first, just how big a risk he is taking by being tested in front of others, especially girls. That's Rebecca Shelley in Fort Collins, Colorado. It is important to me to establish a classroom atmosphere in which everyone understands that boys who sing are absolutely normal. Every day, it's very normal. It's an everyday thing. That's Danielle Miller in Lawrence, Kansas. My boys like to get attention. We make it a big deal when a voice is changing. The girls enjoy listening and even having fun during the whole process. That's Greg Bontrager in Gossel, Kansas. Pituitary gland secretions start the action, the process of change. Puberty begins at a genetically determined pace. Tell your boys that each of them is unique, even though the change process through which they go may have common factors. Age is not a determining factor in which change begins. Some boys experience voice change at age 12 or 13. Others at 15 or 16 or even later. The majority of kids, or boys, experience change between age 12 and 14. Physical size does not relate clearly to voice change. A really big guy can have an unchanged voice. You talk up here. A small guy may experience voice change earlier and be a baritone among his taller, higher speaking friends. Baby fat drops away, pubic and facial hair appear, muscles develop, lung capacity increases, and the rib cage grows, along with feet and arms. Boys may be very awkward, as you know. The larynx, the voice box, gets larger and may be noticeable. Tarzan-like calls, those are breaks in the voice, may occur when one set of muscles which regulate one register of the voice can't change smoothly to a different set of muscles which regulate another register. This is normal. This is a word that should be in your vocabulary. Normal. Tell guys that really often. Assuming no girls are around, play the donkey sounds game. All guys braying crazily for 15 or 20 seconds. They will love it. That's from Greg Bontrager, a master teacher in Gossel, Kansas. And you'll find me referring to the various voice master teachers here and there as I go along. Spoken voice pitches will descend before the singing voice lowers. A breathy sound, whether speaking or singing, is normal for some boys during the change process because the vocal cords, they're called folds, grow so quickly that the vocal cords don't close completely. Thus, some air may escape. Tell boys not to worry. It's temporary. A clear sound will return. They are normal. Lecture boys on the use of deodorant. Don't forget it, because that happens to boys and they don't even know it's happened. Some haven't learned this. Explain singing as another athletic activity demanding discipline, focus, a tuned-up body, and clear thinking. Preach to these guys. Smoking, drugs, and drinking are very detrimental. They're very detrimental effects on the voice and, as they have probably heard numerous times, on the body. Singing and smoking or drinking do not mix. Prior to the onset of puberty, boys' and girls' voices consist of 3 registers: the upper register, the middle register, and the lower register. According to Phillips, the pure lower voice, the chest register, is used only from middle C downward in unchanged voices. The pure upper voice begins an octave above middle C, C2, and extends upward. The middle voice is a combination of upper and lower and extends from C1 to C2. That's the octave above middle C. The octave immediately above middle C. As the boy enters adolescence, he begins to lose the ability to sing in his pure upper register, C2 to C3, as his range in the lower register begins to extend downward. However, boys should continue to exercise the head voice daily through sirens and downward scalar patterns. That's where you come in and can help tremendously. Until his voice is more settled in high school, a boy whose voice is changing should use only the upper voice from E1 to C2. That's the octave just above middle C. Phillips notes that the vocal production recommended for the pure upper register of the male changing voice is not a falsetto registration. The falsetto voice is a, quote, false voice, a product of strained vocal technique in which the larynx rises and cuts off the laryngeal resonator, resulting in a weak and unsupported sound. Every effort must be made to avoid falsetto singing. The pure upper voice of the male's changing and changed voice will sound much like the pre-pubertal boy's voice in the octave from C2 to C3, the second octave above middle C. It will be fuller and freer than the falsetto sound. Excuse me. From middle C downward, boys with changing voices should use the pure chest voice. Phillips recommends that these boys use a 2-register production for singing. The upper register begins at E1 just above middle C and moves upward to C2. The lower register begins at D1 and moves downward. It can be helpful both for you, the teacher, and the boy to know the transition areas where he may do an unexpected Tarzan call. It may surprise you and it will maybe surprise him. For a number of voice teachers of older singers, pinpointing the pitches at which register change is one method of determining a singer's type. For example, are you going to call them sopranos or tenor ones? Or a mezzo-soprano? Some boys don't care for calling them girl names. They don't want to be a girl, they want to be a guy. They may be a tenor or a baritone, a tenor 1 or a tenor 2. One passaggio transition area occurs around the pitches E1, F1, F sharp 1, and G1. The other is found in the vicinity of middle C. It's B, C1, C sharp 1, and D1. In any of the octaves above middle C, these pitches continue to be psychological points at which voices change to another register. For junior high, middle school boys, teachers can listen for register changes in the vicinity of C1, middle C. For baritones or basses, if that is the preferred term, for a register shift can be expected in the vicinity of F1, above middle C. Tenor or cambiata may be an appropriate term for these singers. Where the change occurs may vary with the individual boy and his stage of development.
Thanks, Dr. Barham. To our viewers, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our series on the boy's changing voice. Before we conclude, I want to make note that there are some resources that are available to you, and these have been provided by Dr. Barham, and they are available through a Google Drive link in the description below. So I hope you would check those out. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I hope you continue to inspire the future leaders of our world through this wonderful gift we call music. Thanks.